All right, all right. What's going on, everybody, man? Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. Hold on, I'm lagging bad. Okay, what is going on? Come on, internet. All right, we good. What's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to the special edition, man. Super excited to be here with you guys today. We got a special draft edition. We don't always do these type of shows, y'all, but I wanted to do it today. And basically, we just talk everything NFL draft, right? Now, I'm not going to talk about all the prospects Georgia Tech has, right? But we're going to lock in on one, which is Keylan Rutledge, right? I really want to talk about him today because the potential that he has at the next level is very vast. And I wanted to give you guys this for Georgia Tech fans because I think Keylan Rutledge is the key for their long-term success, right? And you might be like, well, Naj, why would he be the key for their long-term success if he's just one player, right? The reason he is because, first off, he has the potential chance to go number or in the first round of this draft, right? Now, I know it sounds crazy, right? But he's continued to trek up in draft boards. You think about his Senior Bowl performance, when he did in the combine, which we'll talk about here shortly, and everything that he represents, right? He's the perfect guy at the next level. You know what I'm saying? And for them, they have not had a first round draft selection since 2010, right? Going back to Demaryius Thomas and Derek Morgan. So it's been quite a while for Georgia Tech since they've had that caliber of a player, you know what I'm saying, go in the first round, right? Now, even if Rutledge slips to the second round, it's all possible. We got to see what teams are going to do, right? But teams are going to need strong interior presence on the offensive line, which is exactly what Keylan Rutledge brings to the table, right? 6'4", massive offensive lineman, and the versatility that he has, that he can play any of those positions, the center, the left guard, the right guard, makes him potent. And why it's so big for Georgia Tech, before we get into it, is because you're going to have a guy that went and was at Middle Tennessee State, transferred over to Georgia Tech, was developed by G. Who is no longer obviously the offensive line coach there. They have Alan Mogridge, who is the new coach there. But Coach Key has been synonymous. He's been the same guy that's been there for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, right? So what you have is a scenario and a situation where, hey, he came here, he got developed, he became a consistent All-American, right? And he became an All-ACC selection and developed through our program. And he has a potential chance to go number one overall or first round pick, right? And you can show recruits that, right? When they come in, oh, can Georgia Tech land this 4-star recruit, 5-star recruit? I think that helps Coach Key in the recruiting standpoint because it's like, yo, well, we have a tried and true product that we've shown that we can develop, right? And it becomes even better when you can get guys as freshmen, right? And you develop them all the way through for those 3 seasons, and then you see what they can eventually become, right? So this is big, not only for Keylan Rutledge, but also for Georgia Tech, because this is pretty much the fruits of their labor, what they were able to develop and bring in at Georgia Tech that has developed to this level where he can be a top guy. And if he becomes dominant at the NFL level, forget about it, right? Then they definitely have something that they can show, right? But we're going to pull up some things that he was able to do. And a couple of teams I'm going to point out to you guys that he can obviously go to, you know what I'm saying, in this NFL draft, and why the first round can make a lot of sense, okay? So, obviously, 6'4", like I said, 316 pounds, hand size was 10 inches, arm length 33 and 1/4. His 40-yard dash was pretty impressive, 5.05 for offensive lineman, right? He didn't bench press there, but he did bench press, I believe, at the pro day. And obviously, I think there he did over like maybe 25, 30 plus reps, right? So we know the kid can do that, right? Broad jump 8'8", and obviously 32.50. And then we got a chance to see him, you know what I'm saying, in the pro day, basically do a whole bunch of O-line drills. And he looked good. He looked fluid. He was moving fast. He was doing the things that he was supposed to obviously do. Excuse me. So he's a guy, I think, definitely obviously can trend up. He's obviously going up. You see guys like Jordan Reed, Field Yates, Matt Miller had all this to say. After playing guard exclusively during his career at Georgia Tech, the 6'4", 320-pound Rutledge took snaps at center throughout practice Tuesday. Rutledge showed comfort with snapping the ball and demonstrated that he can play any spot along the interior, answering one of the biggest questions scouts had about him entering the Senior Bowl, right? So that was after the Senior Bowl. Now, we know when we look at the numbers and how good of a player he is, right? Just off my dome. Pro Football Focus, right? He only allowed 6 QB hurries and didn't allow a single sack and over 870 plus snaps last season, right? So you bringing that to the next level. You're thinking about a guy that can do that at a consistent level if you are Keylan Rutledge, right? Which bodes well for you, right? And again, if you guys can hear me, I know I kind of came out there a little bit. 870 plus snaps, it's only 6 QB hurries and 0 sacks, right? And like I said, 2-time All-ACC selection, and obviously this past year consistent All-American. This is what he does. This is how good Keylan Rutledge is, and I think he's going to be obviously a great player at the next level for any team that he decides to go to, right? You look at the numbers, obviously the combine results are obviously very good for him, and he moved well, obviously in the drills. And what he did was going into the process, right? He was probably third, fourth round pick But it just goes to show you, if you take advantage of that process, you can trend up, right? He was probably third, fourth round pick. He goes and has a productive Senior Bowl. Then from there, he goes and has a really good combine. And then on top of that, when all the scouts came to Georgia Tech to see him, he had a really good pro day, right? It was nothing crazy he did. He did some of the cone drills and then he did some of the individual work. But you can see the explosiveness off the line. You can see how technically sound he was. You can see how he can push people around and move them, right? And that's everything you want out of an offensive guard for a very, very, very long time, right? So those are obviously things that make sense for him, and obviously having a very, very, very strong season along with a very, very strong offseason that helped him in the pre-draft process only is going to take him to obviously that next level, right? So that is what he was able to obviously do. Now, why I think he can obviously go, great article here by Jackson Cardell, who obviously covers Georgia Tech along with me. Obviously, I'm under him, you know what I'm saying? But why he can go in the first round, okay? So let's talk about this a little bit. Why Keylan Rutledge can obviously in the first round. Okay, now there are some teams in the first round that need some help. Okay, those teams include the Houston Texans. They badly need offensive line help to help out CJ Stroud. Now, what happened in the postseason, how he struggled and all that stuff, that was on CJ Stroud. He threw like 4 interceptions. They still need more out of obviously the offensive line group. And I think that's why you see they want to take the pressure off of CJ a little bit, right? Why they went and traded for David Montgomery from the Detroit Lions. They want to make their job easier. Getting a guy like obviously Keylan Rutledge will only help that. They pick in the 20s. You know what I'm saying? That would help them out obviously a lot, right? He could easily be there at number 28 for Houston, Texas, for them to go ahead and grab a snack, right? The other team that needs help, also in the 20s, right? I know a lot going on with their head coach, Matt Vrabel. We won't talk about that too much here on the channel, but Patriots could use him. They got obliterated in the Super Bowl by the Seattle Seahawks defensive line, right? They need somebody that's strong. They need somebody that can maul people. They need somebody that can just kind of set that edge, set that standard in the interior of the offensive line. What better guy than this one right here in Keylan Rutledge, right? You know what I'm saying? So those are two easy situations that he can go in and potentially vie for playing time early in his professional career. So that's why the first round could make a lot of sense. See, a lot of this is obviously you have to be a great athlete, great player and things like that. But at the same time, it's also about the fit, right? For some of these teams, they're going to want that O-line help. They want to take that next step forward if you're Houston. You want to take that next step forward if you're New England. You had a Super Bowl on the line. You couldn't move the ball. You couldn't do the things you needed to do. This guy like this, Keylan Rutledge, can help you out a long way. You can also throw in Philly in there, but I don't think they will go there. I could see Philly obviously taking a wide receiver. Everything that's going on with AJ Brown, it feels like there's going to be a trade that's imminent. That's going to be certain to happen. So that could be them getting obviously a wide receiver. You could throw in Detroit as well. You know what I'm saying, as a team to continue to watch. But the two teams for sure, without a doubt in my mind, is going to be the Houston Texans and it's going to be the New England Patriots. Both of those teams are fits for him. They play a really good scheme in a system, right? And they obviously can help him out. And New England, at its core, they like to run the football. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they throw the ball with Drake May. Yes, they need to improve their weaponry and wide receivers. But at their core, New England likes to run the football, right? Houston also likes to run the football a good bit as well. Yes, they pass it a good bunch with obviously CJ Stroud, but they also like to run the ball. So those two teams for me can make a lot of sense for Keylan Rutledge and why he could obviously be a first round selection. So we outlined the teams that obviously make a lot of sense for him. His combine results, obviously how he took the pre-draft process seriously, was obviously has helped him. The next phase and the final phase of all this is the Georgia Tech, which we talked about earlier. And again, if he goes first round, this helps them out a bunch. And if he goes and he's any all-rookie team or he's a first-time Pro Bowler, it helps Georgia Tech massively in recruiting. And they're already in the conversation for a lot of guys, right? Kyson Mallard, right? The Chavez Dixons. They had a 4-star offensive tackle from Cincinnati in the building last week, right? Obviously, they had Joshua Salmon Pele, right? You know, obviously, South Carolina and Georgia, two teams to watch there for him. Kelsey Adams, who's committed to Georgia, had an OV there. Like, now you're trending for top end guys, and it's only going to increase more and more as more of your guys start to go to the NFL and start. That's what Kirby Smart was able to do, right? Obviously, Georgia's always been a brand and team that we know, but what Kirby did different was he got his guys to the league and they had ultra success. They get into the second and third contracts in the NFL, right? The development of talent, massive. So if you're Georgia Tech and you start having that tried and true product and it's consistent, look the hell out. You're gonna be. It's no more gonna be. Oh, Georgia's just gonna run roughshod over you no more, right? You're not a physical bunch. This is a very physical Georgia Tech football team. So this is only going to help you move forward with landing some of these top recruits that Georgia was getting, or South Carolina, or Auburn, or Alabama, or Florida, or any of the top teams that you're going to have to compete for a lot of these prospects. Now you could say, oh, look at that guy right there, NFL, look what he's doing. He came to us as a transfer, and look what we were able to help him develop into, and look what he's doing at the next level. It's only going to help you. It's only going to help you. So we could see it. We could not see it. I'm not too sure, but I want to do a video on that today because there is a potential chance. It's a little bit of unknowns. This draft is not like, okay, I know this guy's gonna go here. I know this guy's gonna go here. Like we just don't know. That's why I made that post, and you guys go check it out. I think this is going to be a very historic draft because there's a lot of unknowns of what's going to happen, and there's a lot of unknowns of who's going to get selected. And I think that means a whole bunch of draft, or a whole bunch of trades. And I'm going at least about 6 trades. I think in this first round, I think it's going to be insane. I think we're going to have historic draft selections and just trades and different things that we're going to see that's going to try to make these teams better for next year because it was such a weak NFL free agency class. And now these guys are obviously going to try to get it with these draft picks. And guys, hopefully they can contribute, obviously, day one. So I can't wait. It will be a lot of fun, man. Y'all keep it tapped. If he gets drafted, I'll do an instant reaction probably video for you guys. I'm going to be watching the draft the entire time. I freed up my schedule. I'm going to do my recruiting show at 6 today. And yeah, man, I can't wait. I'm going to be watching the draft from 8 all the way on. Anything I see that's crazy, y'all know I'm going to react and respond. So I cannot wait for it. Will be a lot of fun, man. But till next time, I know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, hype up the video, and please, Georgia Tech fans, y'all always support me. Love y'all, man. Keep supporting the channel. Whatever content y'all want to see, daily, whatever, let me know. Okay, I've had some baseball people tune in. I'm just trying to like get it up where I can get the views, man. That's how I make my money on y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's how I make my money on is the views. So let me know what y'all want to see. If it's Scott Cross, if it's basketball, let me know, man. I'm tapped in with them. I'm still covering my other 5 teams that I told y'all about: Tennessee, Texas, Miami, Georgia, Alabama, but always gonna have Georgia Tech because y'all was the first ones to support me, man. So I got to keep that going. But till next time, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.